Don't you dare ask us to cancel our plans again. Claire's mother shouted, her voice cutting through the hospital room like a blade. We've had these Elton John tickets for months. On the screen of her phone, Claire stared at her parents' faces, trying to hold herself together. Her hands trembled, the pain in her abdomen spreading like wildfire, but nothing hurt more than their indifference. It was Christmas Eve, and she was alone at Las Vegas Medical Center with her 2-year-old twins, Noah and Nora, playing quietly in the corner. The nurse, Janice, adjusted Claire's fore and checked her vitals, clearly concerned. Claire winced, not just from the pain radiating from her side, but from the cold silence that followed her parents' outburst. I'm having emergency surgery, she said again, her voice barely above a whisper. I just need someone to watch the kids. But her father's voice came next, sharp and dismissive. You're becoming a real burden, Claire. We're retired now. We've earned peace, not your constant problems. Claire blinked back tears. For 3 years, she had been sending her parents $2,500 a month to help with their mortgage and bills after they retired early. She continued even after her husband Marcus died in a car crash 6 months ago, leaving her with grief, bills, and 2 toddlers to raise alone. She had done it out of love, believing family meant showing up for each other. But now, with internal bleeding threatening her life, they wouldn't miss a concert to help their only daughter. Janice, the nurse, placed a hand gently on Claire's shoulder. I have a friend, she said softly. Her name is Grace. She's a nanny who used to work with trauma victims. I can call her. Claire nodded through silent tears. The twins were too young to understand, but they had already lost one parent. She couldn't risk leaving them with people who saw them as obligations. Yes, Claire whispered. Please call her. As Janice stepped out, Claire hung up the call with her parents and let her phone fall onto the blanket. A flood of memories came crashing in. Childhood moments where Lena, her younger sister, had always been celebrated while Claire was overlooked. Her college graduation was barely acknowledged because Lena had booked a minor TV commercial that same weekend. When she married Marcus, her parents had complained that the venue was too far. When the twins were born, they visited once, then ghosted her completely. But Marcus had loved her through it all. He had understood disappointment. We'll build our own family, he used to say. One that knows how to love. They did. Until the night a drunk driver stole him away. Claire had thought she'd never breathe again after that. But she had. Barely. Grace arrived within the hour. Calm, capable, kind. Everything Claire needed in that moment. The twins warmed up to her almost immediately. As the hospital staff prepared Claire for surgery, she asked Janice to bring her phone once more. With trembling fingers, Claire opened her banking app and canceled the automatic payments to her parents. Then she opened her messages and typed, I will no longer be providing financial support. My children and I deserve better than being your afterthoughts. Do not contact me again. She pressed send. Then she closed her eyes and let the hospital bed roll her away, not just toward surgery, but towards something else entirely. Freedom. Clara awoke to the sterile scent of antiseptic and the soft beeping of machines. Her body felt like it had been run over by a truck, every movement a reminder of the trauma she had survived. But she had survived. The surgery had taken longer than expected, and the internal bleeding had been worse than the doctors originally thought. Still, she had made it. Barely. The room was dim, save for a sliver of morning light filtering through the blinds. Grace sat on the small couch, reading a picture book to Noah and Nora, who sat quietly beside her, each clutching a favorite toy. Claire's heart swelled. Not from pain this time, but from something warmer, something steadier. Safety. 5 days passed. Days filled with drifting in and out of sleep, of Grace bringing warm soup and singing lullabies when the twins grew restless, of hospital staff checking vitals and offering quiet encouragement. Janice never left without offering Claire a moment of kindness, an extra pillow, a fresh cup of ice water, a smile that said, you're not alone. But the peace couldn't last forever. On the 6th day, Claire noticed her phone blinking on the side table. 27 missed calls. Countless text messages. Most from her parents. Some from Lena. She opened them slowly, one by one. At first, the messages from her parents were confused. Claire, what's going on? Then irritated. You can't just cut us off. That's not how family works. Then desperate. We had to use our cruise fund to pay the mortgage. This isn't fair. And never, not once, was there a message asking if she had survived the surgery. Not one question about the twins. Lena's messages were different. More hesitant. More confused. Mom and Dad said you had some minor procedure. Why is everyone panicking about money? Claire felt a chill. They had lied to Lena. Again. She typed slowly, explaining the situation. The internal bleeding, the emergency surgery, the lack of support, the betrayal. The truth. Minutes later, Lena replied. Oh my God. I had no idea. They told me you were being dramatic about a checkup. Claire, if I had known, I would have come. I'm so sorry. Claire believed her. Lena wasn't cruel, just blinded for too long by a family that had raised her to believe she was always the center of the world. But maybe that would change now. Maybe truth had a way of cracking through even the thickest fog. When Claire was discharged, she could barely walk to the car. Grace drove them home, and the twins, quiet and wide-eyed, clung to her arms like ivy. Their apartment felt smaller somehow, the walls pressing in with financial pressure. Bills were piled on the kitchen counter. The fridge hummed with emptiness. But she was alive. That night, as she lay in bed, pain flaring along her stitches, Claire stared at the ceiling. Her thoughts drifted to the money she had sent her parents every month. $30,000 a year. Gone. For what? A sense of guilt. A false belief that support was always deserved, no matter how coldly they treated her. She opened her laptop and started drafting a will. Grace had offered to be named guardian if anything ever happened. Claire added her name without hesitation. Not her parents. Never again. By the end of the week, she had blocked her parents' numbers. She left Lena unblocked. Claire wasn't ready to trust her fully, but she was watching. The next morning, she brewed a cup of coffee with trembling hands. She stared out the window as the sunrise touched the tops of the neighboring buildings. She had no family but her children. No savings left. No partner beside her. But what she had was hers. And no one would take it from her again. Claire was folding the twins' clothes when the knock came. 3 sharp raps, too firm to be friendly. She paused, shirt half folded, her stomach twisting. Through the peephole she saw them. Her parents, standing just outside her door. Her mother wore a familiar expression, strained sweetness with panic just underneath. Her father's arms were crossed, his jaw set in the same stern way it had been when Claire was a teenager, explaining why she had chosen art school instead of accounting. Claire opened the door just enough to meet their eyes. What do you want? She asked, her voice clear, not unkind. We've been worried, her mother began, eyes glistening with rehearsed concern. You haven't returned our calls. We just wanted to make sure you and the twins are all right. Claire blinked. We're fine. Her father stepped forward. It's not just that. We need to talk about this financial nonsense. The bank called about our missed mortgage payment. We had to cancel our cruise. There it was. The truth. The mask barely lasted a minute. Claire didn't flinch. I told you. I'm not sending money anymore. But we've built our life around that, her mother cried. You promised you'd help us after retirement. I offered help. Temporarily, Claire said calmly. I never agreed to be your bank account. You're punishing us, her father barked. No. I'm setting boundaries, she answered. I needed you. I was in the hospital, bleeding. I begged you to watch your grandchildren. And you chose Elton John. Her mother's lips trembled. It was just one concert. One concert I may have died during. Silence. Then came the shift. Her mother spotted Nora peeking around the corner, clutching a blue plush bear. There's my sweet grandbaby, she cooed, bending low. Grandma brought presents. Nora backed away. She didn't remember them. Claire's chest tightened. You should leave. Her father stiffened. You can't just. I can. And I am. If I'm ever ready to talk, I'll reach out. But not now. And not like this. She closed the door. Softly. But firmly. The next morning they were back. This time, they brought Claire's Aunt Meredith, her mother's older sister and self-proclaimed peacemaker. Claire didn't open the door. She listened as Aunt Meredith pleaded through the wood. Claire, sweetheart. Don't shut them out. They're not perfect, but they're your parents. Claire's reply came calmly. They've had decades to be better. They chose not to. They're going to lose their house, her mother's voice broke in. We've had to cancel our cruise. We're drowning. You were never entitled to my help, Claire said, still behind the door. You spent recklessly, assumed I'd pick up the pieces. That's not my job. The knocking continued for another minute. Then silence. That afternoon, Claire received a group email from her father, sent to the entire extended family. The subject line, Claire has abandoned us. It was a carefully crafted smear. According to the email, Claire had turned on her family without warning, had used her surgery as an excuse, and had cut them off without explanation after years of support. He left out their refusal to help during an emergency. He left out the concert tickets. He left out Claire's years of silent-swallowed grief. What he didn't expect was the response. It started with Cousin Andrew. Didn't you just buy a new car last month? Then Aunt Rose. You told us Claire was being dramatic. Emergency surgery isn't dramatic. Then came private messages. Claire's inbox flooded. What really happened? Are you okay? I'm so sorry. I didn't know. Even Aunt Meredith called. They lied to me, Claire, she admitted. They said it was a routine checkup. I had no idea. I feel so ashamed. Claire didn't respond in anger. She didn't write a rebuttal. Instead, with Lena's help, she sent one clear message to the family thread. I underwent emergency surgery. My parents refused to help with their grandchildren because they had concert tickets. I am now focusing on recovery and my children. That is the full story. Nothing more needed to be said. And everything had changed. A week passed without incident. Claire tried to focus on healing. Her incision throbbed less each day, and the twins were beginning to settle into a new rhythm with Olivia. The tension in the apartment had started to fade, replaced by quiet stability. Nora had begun drawing again, filling the fridge with scribbles of her family, always with Claire and her, never grandparents. It hurt, but it also told the truth. One evening, as the sun cast long shadows across the kitchen tiles, Claire received a message from Lena. They're back. With paperwork. Claire's heart sank. Within the hour, there was another knock. Not rushed, not aggressive. Steady. Calculated. Through the peephole, she saw her parents again, this time holding a manila folder and a laptop bag. Her father's shirt was wrinkled, collar slightly turned. Her mother's makeup was heavier than usual, like she was preparing for a performance. Against her better judgment, Claire opened the door. They stood stiffly, not asking to come in. Her father held the folder like it was a peace offering. We need $144,000, he said without preamble. Claire blinked. What? To save the house. To pay off the mortgage, back taxes, penalties. All of it, her mother added. Claire stepped aside and gestured toward the dining table. Not out of obligation, but curiosity. Show me, she said. The spreadsheet was detailed. Dates, balances, missed payments, credit card debt. It was a financial disaster wrapped in polite formatting. Claire studied it silently while her parents watched her every move. What about the boat? She asked, finally looking up. We'd take a loss, her father said quickly. The timeshare? We've listed it. No bites yet, her mother answered. Your luxuries, Claire said quietly, cost more than my entire life savings. Her father straightened. We're not asking for a gift. We'll pay it back. With what income? His silence was answer enough. We just thought, her mother began carefully, that after everything we did for you. What exactly did you do for me? Claire interrupted. The air went still. Her father's eyes narrowed. Her mother looked away. You were raised in a good home, he muttered. We gave you opportunities. You gave me guilt, Claire replied. You gave me silence when I needed comfort. Distance when I needed love. From the hallway, the twins' laughter echoed. Her mother's eyes darted toward the sound. They don't know us, she said softly. You chose that. But we could know them, she added quickly. We could help. Claire scoffed. You had your chance. When I was lying in a hospital bed, terrified of dying, her father finally spoke again. We thought you'd move past this. That you were just emotional. I was hemorrhaging, Claire said evenly. Your grandkids were almost orphaned. Her mother's voice cracked. We made mistakes. No, Claire corrected. You made choices. And now you face the consequences. They sat in silence. No more pleas. No more justification. Just the hum of Claire's refrigerator and the ticking of the wall clock. Eventually, she stood. I won't give you money. I won't co-sign loans. I won't bail you out. Her father looked like he wanted to argue, but Claire raised a hand. This conversation is over. As they left, her mother paused at the door. You've changed. I had to, Claire said. You gave me no choice. That night, Claire tucked the twins into bed and stood by the window, watching the empty street. She didn't feel triumphant. She felt free. She had faced them, not with anger, but with clarity. Not for revenge, but for protection. A week later, Jessica visited again, her arms full of groceries and toys. They're spinning stories again, she said, unpacking cans. Telling everyone you ruined them. Claire shrugged. Let them. The people who matter know the truth. Jessica sat at the kitchen island, folding her hands. They got the foreclosure notice. 60 days. Claire said nothing. Are you okay with that? Claire turned to face her. I'm not happy about it. But I won't save them from what they created. Jessica nodded. They didn't believe you'd really cut them off. And that, Claire said, pouring tea, was their final mistake. 2 months after the surgery, Claire stood on the balcony of her new home, a modest but charming house in a quiet neighborhood lined with jacaranda trees. The twins were playing in the freshly mowed backyard, chasing bubbles Olivia had blown into the air. The sun painted their laughter in gold, and for the first time in years, Claire felt something close to peace. Moving had not been easy. It meant saying goodbye to the apartment where she had nursed James through grief, held her newborns for the first time, and cried alone after every parental rejection. But it also meant space, light, and a new beginning. Diana, the widowed real estate agent from the support group, had helped her find this place and guided her through the financial logistics with kindness and precision. The mortgage was manageable, especially now that Claire wasn't draining her income on her parents' comforts. She had converted one of the bedrooms into a small home office. Her memorial website business had taken off, slowly but steadily. Each design she crafted became a tribute, not just to the lost lives of others, but to her own resilience. Her clients appreciated her empathy, her ability to capture nuance in grief. She had finally found work that gave more than income. It gave meaning. Jessica became a regular presence. She no longer arrived with apologies or comparisons, but with meals, babysitting offers, and real, candid conversations. It took time, but their bond, long smothered under years of favoritism and manipulation, began to rebuild itself on solid ground. They talked openly about their childhood, about things they had ignored or misremembered. They didn't always agree, but they listened. The day Claire received her mother's handwritten letter, she froze. She held it in her hand for a long time, afraid to open it. Was it another guilt-laced manipulation? Another attempt to claw her back into their emotional trap? But when she read it, she found something different. I've had time to reflect, her mother wrote. Watching you build a life without our help has forced me to confront some painful truths. The words were careful, but not hollow. There was no request for money. No plea for forgiveness. Only an admission of jealousy, of failure, and a line that struck Claire deeply. You needed me, just not in the ways I wanted to be needed. And I failed to see that. Claire sat with the letter for days, rereading it under the pale light of the kitchen, uncertain whether to believe it. She consulted Jessica, who confirmed her parents had started therapy, reluctantly at first. Her father had suffered a health scare, high blood pressure, chest pain, and perhaps mortality had softened him. Eventually, Claire agreed to meet. They chose a cafe near her home, a neutral place. No twins. No expectations. When her parents arrived, Claire barely recognized them. Her mother had shed the heavy makeup and designer clothes. Her father's posture had changed, less defensive, more unsure. They looked, for once, like people instead of roles. There were no rehearsed speeches. Her father cried. Her mother spoke quietly. They admitted their failures, their selfishness. And for once, they did not expect Claire to make them feel better. Claire didn't forgive them that day. She didn't hug them or invite them over. But she did share photos of the twins and updates about her work. And when her father asked, would it be possible someday to know them, she answered with measured calm. That depends. Not on what you say, but on what you do. They nodded. As Claire left the cafe, she breathed in the evening air. It smelled like rain in spring. The pain was still there, a low ache in her chest, but it no longer defined her. She had crossed a threshold, not from daughter to orphan, but from silence to sovereignty. She had made a home, built a life, chosen her own worth, and in doing so, given her children something far more valuable than money or heritage. She had given them a mother who finally understood the power of no, and the strength in choosing yes, only when it came from love.